Hello guys and welcome back. In this lecture, we'll be learning about some useful tips and functions in Adobe Illustrator. So some of these functions are just little things that many people do not know about, okay, and can better your workflow in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to start by creating a new document, okay, a new file, okay, so create new. And then I'm going to choose maybe this custom 9 by 9 inches, and I'll just change the color mode to RGB, doesn't matter, and then create. Okay, now let's kind of duplicate the artboard. So I've chosen the artboard tool. Then I'm going to hold down Alt and drag this artboard while also holding down Shift. Okay, so drag it like this. So the first thing I want us to learn about is symmetrical drawing. Okay, so you might want to draw stuff and then want to use symmetry. Okay, what I mean by symmetry is, let's say we have a straight line here in the middle. Okay, let us align the line. Okay, so let's see, we have a straight line here in the middle, and then you want to draw something here and also have the same thing being drawn out here. Okay, or you want to draw something here and you want the same thing being drawn out here. That's symmetry. Okay, so you are drawing them symmetrically. So this line serves as a middle point where we have equal drawings on our left and our right. Okay, so that's symmetry, and sometimes symmetry is important in design. Some people use symmetry for designs depending on what you want to create, really. Okay, but symmetry can be important, and I'm just going to show you how to create simple symmetry, okay, in Adobe Illustrator. So let's assume we want to create a symmetry whereby we draw stuff in this space here, in the left hand space, and then we now have the same thing on the right hand side. Okay, so what you do now is just create a line like this, okay, to serve as the center line. Just align it to the middle, then come and select your line. Just come and click on this icon here, okay, to select the line, then come to effects, okay, and then distort and transform, okay, and then just come to transform effect. So now in this transform effect, what you're going to do is you're going to add an effect to the layer such that whatever you draw here will be reflected here automatically. So it's more of a reflect effect. Okay, so after adding the transform effect, just come here and leave the angle at 0, come and reflect X, and then go and make one copy. And what I want to do is I want to draw on this side. Okay, so when you draw on this side, you then take the points. You see these points, you're just going to bring it at the right hand side because we are drawing at the left hand side. Okay, so it's going to reflect what we have here in this place. Okay, so that's all you need to do, and you now click OK. Okay, let's come and try it out. Let's try using our brush tool, and then when we draw here, we can see that we now have our symmetry perfectly. Okay, so anything you do here will totally be duplicated here. So let's say we even want to add a shape. Okay, so this is called the 1-point symmetry. There are also more complex forms of symmetry, and all of this can be achieved by simply adding the transform effect, just like I added here. Yeah, so I'm not going to do much here. We want to have a flower vase. Okay, maybe handles. Click here 90 degrees. Okay, and make this 3 copies. Okay, and click OK, and then that is it. So when you come to your pen tool now and draw, you see that we now have it reflected, right? Now have everything reflected. Some designers use this to create very beautiful art. Okay, very beautiful art with symmetry. Okay, so this is just how you go about it. We're going to delete everything. Let me try creating something new. I'm not creating anything in specific. I'm just playing around to see what I can achieve, right? Yeah, I'm not really creating something in specific. That's it. Nothing serious. Just for you to understand how symmetry works and how to create stuff using symmetry, or how to create a symmetry effect in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm just going to maybe duplicate the artboard again and have another one here. And for this guy, I'm just going to delete this one so that we can look at all the stuff. Okay. Now the next tip I want to give to you is how to change the direction of a path. So let's say I draw a path like this using the pen tool, of course. Okay, I draw a path like this, or whatever way. Maybe just use a curved path instead. Let's say I draw a path like this. Okay, and it has a stroke, right? Now this part has a direction. It has a direction, and the direction goes like this because I started drawing it here and ended here. Okay, so to make this direction more glaring, I'm not going to use a uniform profile. I'm going to use this profile. Okay, so when I now increase the stroke size, we can now see that this is the direction, right? This is the slimmer point, and then this point is thicker, so this is the direction. Okay, now how do we change the direction? How do we make this guy the thicker guy and this guy the slimmer guy? How do we do that? We can do that simply by just coming to the pen tool again, and then if this is the direction and you want here to be the direction, just click on this place. Now you see that the direction has changed from here to here, and same also with this. You can see we can keep changing the direction. So right now the direction is here. Okay, so right now it's kind of leading here, while this is the tail, this is the head, and this is the tail. If we want here to be the head, we just use the pen tool and click here, and you see here now is the head and here is the tail. And then there's another thing you might want to learn, or you should learn. Okay, let's assume we have different objects like this. Okay, then kind of, let's say we have 3 or 4 objects, or 4 objects like this, and then we want them to converge to a point. Okay, we want them to converge to a point, and we have not been able to kind of perfectly do that because we will have to zoom in, and yeah, we've not been able to actually achieve that. Okay, so there is an easy way to just make this happen. Okay, and the way I'm going to do this is by just selecting all the points here. Okay, just selecting all the points, and then go to object and parts, then average. Now it gives us these options here, whether we should use the horizontal axis or vertical axis or both. So when you click both, we're just going to have them merge on both the horizontal and vertical axis. So as you can see, they are now all merged to a point. Okay, so these are just simple tips that you might find useful in your day-to-day use of Adobe Illustrator. Okay, perfect. So the next tip I would like to share is how to align stuff. Okay, I know we know how to align objects. Okay, we know how to align objects to our artboard. So for example, for this object, we might want to align it to the middle. We can just click here and click here, and we are now being able to align it to the middle. Okay, and then when you come here, you can actually choose whether to align it to the artboard, of which we just did, or align it to a selection. Okay, it means there will have to be, let's say, 2 objects. Let's just arrange and move this to the back. Okay, so maybe we have this as yellow, so we can now choose align to selection. Okay, align to selection, right? align to selection. So we can now select these guys and then align them to each other. So they are no longer being aligned to the artboard, but they are being aligned to each other. So when we click here, the both of them are aligned to the middle of each other. When we click here, this guy is aligned to the topmost part of the other shape, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's another tip, how to align stuff. And one of the things people do not know is we can actually align anchor points. Okay, we can actually align anchor points. So let's assume we are working on something, and then we just have some of our anchor points placed abnormally. Okay, let's say we have this anchor point maybe move down a little bit, and we actually want it to be on the same level with this one. Okay, we can actually align them together and have them on the same level, because actually doing it manually might not give us an accurate result. So the best way to have them aligned, the best way to adjust it rather, is to align the anchor points. Okay, so how do we do that? All you need to do is select the both of them and just align like this. Okay, so they are now on the same line. So what if we have something like this and we want them to be aligned like this? All you need to do is select the both of them and click this align option here, and we have the anchor points aligned. Okay, so that's it for the align function. And the next tip I would like to give you is a color related tip. So let's assume we have a box here and we have red color on it. Let's say we have this shade of red on it. Okay, so when you come to the color palette here, or rather the color swatch here, and hold down shift and click, we see that this option then comes up. Now we have it as an RGB color, and we now have the levels of the various channels. Now for the red channel we have it at 216, the values for the various channels. For the red channel we have it at 216, for the green we have at 5, and for the blue we had at 36 rather, and we now have the color code here, which it means we can copy this color code and go and paste it somewhere. Maybe we are doing a web design and we want to copy this color, we can just copy the color code and go and paste it there, and we will now have exactly this color. Okay, or we are doing a logo design and we want this particular color, all we need to do is to copy the color code. Okay, and then when you hold down Control and drag this point like this, we see that we are now able to brighten or darken the color. Okay, so with this we are now brightening the color by dragging it down. We are now darkening the color. That's of course holding down Control. Okay, so that's it for this little tip. And then the next tip I want you to learn is also a color related tip. So let me just adjust the color, make it, let's say purple, this shade of purple. Okay, so select the color and then come to color palette, and then just come here and create a new swatch. And now this is our new swatch. We can give it a name. Okay, but we don't have to give it a name. And this is now what I want you to observe. There is this checkbox here which is called global. Okay, when we uncheck it, we are not creating a global swatch, but when we enable it, we are creating a global swatch. So what's a global swatch? A global swatch is more of a color that remains constant along different objects. So let me just maybe adjust the color a bit like this. You can just click OK. Now we now have this color, and we now have the new swatch here. Now as you can, if you can observe properly, you will be able to see that we have this little right angle triangle at the edge, at the lower edge of our new swatch. Okay, now this is the icon that shows us, this is what shows us that it's a global color. Okay, so how do global colors work? So let's assume we now have, let me just have another one here and give it a normal color. Let's just duplicate our guys like this, Okay, you can see that for these ones which have a normal swatch, you can just select the object and you choose a different color. Come here, choose a different color. Okay, but for our global colors or for our global swatch, when we come to our global swatch and kind of try to edit it, okay, when we try to edit it, okay, we try to edit it to be dark or very bright, we will then see that we now have it edited across all our objects. Okay, we now have it edited across all our objects. Okay, we now have it edited across all our objects, like you can see right now, unlike these other ones, unlike these other normal swatches. Okay, for example, this one that has the both of them applied here, let me just try it out. Okay, and try to edit the swatch. You then see that it only affects this object, whereas for global colors it affects all the objects with the global color. Okay, let me just delete these artboards and leave one. Okay, they're not important. Let's delete this guy and leave just one artboard, and maybe even delete the layers because they have that effect on them. Okay, drag this one to the front here, just delete this one. Yeah, delete this one. So let's assume we have, let's say, a logo like this. So let's assume this is a logo. Okay, and let's assume this is a logo and we are kind of working on our logo. We're trying to perfect stuff. Maybe we even have some pathfinder effects like this, and we're just trying to come up with a very nice logo. Okay, and maybe we even have a name, and we're going to kind of look at a lot of these things in details also. That's some of these things I'm using without explaining. Okay, remember I am assuming that you have some knowledge of Adobe Illustrator. Okay, but in our subsequent lessons I'm going to explain some stuff over and over again. So let's assume we're trying to create a simple logo. Let's just name this logo. Okay, and we are in our process of creating a logo design. And one thing very common with logos is with logo designing is that while working on your logo, you might want to be able to visualize it from afar. Okay, you remember you're working in close range, so you might want to be able to visualize it from afar. You might want to be able to kind of do some changes while you see it kind of in a different window, right? So the tip I'm going to share with you will enable you create a new window. Okay, so just come to Windows and then new window. Now when you do that, you've now created a new window of the same job. Okay, of the same job. Okay, so you can still come to Windows, then come to Arrange, and then come to maybe Tile. Okay, now with this, we now have the both of them here tiled like this. So we have this original window here and the new window here. Now we can now be working on our logo design, maybe this one in close range in this window, while we see the changes happen here. Okay, so maybe we move this, we can now see it happen here. We maybe change some anchor points. Maybe we make this guy this. Okay, and we can just see it happen here. Okay, so that's something I do a lot when designing logos. Okay, so I'm just going to delete and just close this window. I don't need it. And the next tip I would like to share with you is a very simple one. Let's just have a shape like this, and let's Shift X to kind of give it a stroke instead of a fill color, and let's make the stroke 5. Okay, when you select and you scale down, I think the option is on. So this is actually the option. This is the option I want to give you a tip on. On default, we don't have this option. Okay, we don't have this option. This scale, stroke, and effects. On default, we don't have this option. So if you have a scenario like this, where you have a shape with a stroke, and you try to scale down, you see that your stroke just remains constant. Okay, and you might want to be able to scale the object along with the stroke. Okay, you might want to be able to scale the object along with the stroke, and this makes it difficult. Okay, now when you have this option checked, this scale, stroke, and effect, when you have it checked and you try to scale, you are now seeing that you are now being able to scale the stroke with the object. Okay, it's a very simple tip but very important. When starting out, I came across this, okay, and I didn't like it, so I had to figure out a way to kind of scale the strokes along with the object. Okay, and you can simply do that by just checking this box here. Okay, so that's it for this tip. Very simple but very important tip. And then the next one has to do with patterns. Okay, so let's assume we have a pattern on this shape here, and this is just a default pattern. So you might want to be able to rotate only the pattern and not the shape, or only the shape and not the pattern. All you have to do is select the shape, come to object and transform, and then let's say rotate. Right now we have this option which is transform patterns, right? So let's just try to rotate it like this, and now we can see that it's being rotated with the pattern. Okay, now when you kind of uncheck this guy, we will then see that the pattern remains constant and only the shape gets rotated. Okay, so that's it for the rotating. And for the scaling, what you need to do is just come to Windows and go to the transform panel. Okay, bring up the transform panel. Okay, sorry, let's close this. Let's just go to Windows again and bring up the transform panel. Now, in order to do that, just come here and then where you see transform objects only and transform patterns only. So when you come and click on transform objects only, when you come and click on transform objects only and you try to scale the object, we then see that the pattern remains constant. Okay, the pattern remains constant while the object scales up. Okay, and when you select transform patterns only, they kind of transform together. Okay, they kind of transform together, and then when you select transform both, they also transform together. So that's it about scaling up your objects without affecting your patterns, and also rotating your objects without rotating your patterns. Now the next very simple tip I would like to give you is a way to precisely transform your object. Okay, so let's assume we have, let me just give it a normal color, a normal fill color, and let's assume we want to divide our shape. Okay, let's say we want to divide our shape, or want to move our shape, or we want to transform our shape generally. Okay, now on the properties panel we have this transform options, and when we click here we'll have more options. Okay, so these options deal with the width and the breadth. Okay, and you can see that they are linked together, so anything you do here will be affected with to this other guy. And we also have the rotation, so that's the angle of rotation. Okay, and we have other ones here. So let's assume we want to move this object and move it by twice its position on the X. So let's do 4.5 multiplied by 2. So multiply by 2, and let's, okay, now we can see that by the X it's moved by 2. Okay, and now we have it at 9. So we can actually transform our objects by just using mathematical functions. Okay, we can use mathematical functions like multiplication, division. We can even divide, so divide by 2, and we now have it at the initial position. And when we come here, we can make this divide by 5. Okay, and now we have it reduced by 5. Remember, they are linked. Okay, so we have everything happening evenly. So that's the little tip I have for you regarding the transformation of objects. Now, the last and final tip I would like to share with you is something very simple. Okay, it's actually a tool which is related to the type tool here, and we actually looked at this in the beginner course, and it's a very simple thing, really. Okay, let's just scale up this type like this, and maybe kind of reduce this, and yeah. So this tool enables us to kind of transform each of the letters without using the options here, okay, and it gives us a great deal of flexibility. Now this is the touch type tool here, okay, the touch type tool. So when you just click on a type here, it gives you the ability to scale it up, rotate it, okay, scale it up. You can even shift it like this and do a whole lot of things. Okay, so this is the tool, the touch type tool, and we are also going to look at this again when we are looking at typography in one of the coming modules, but I just felt I should show you this one again. Okay, can rotate, we can scale, we can move, we can do a whole lot of things without having to use the options here. And when we use our options here, they still affect our type here. Okay, so that's just the tip for you. And with this, we've come to the end of our lecture on tips and functions, and in the coming modules we'll definitely start creating some really cool stuff. Okay, so see you in the next one. Bye.